Hey, we're back and we're talking about 1D&D playtest doc number 3, Clerics and Revised Species. Yeah, not race, species. So I'm going to give you an overview of all the cool and fun changes to the Cleric class, these updates to the Ardling and Dragonborn from the first playtest doc, and we're going to talk about the new and improved Goliath. Then we will skim through a few choice changes from the rules glossary, most notably some changes to that so questionable influence action, because I'm Bob. This is where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. And let me tell you right up front that I came away from reading this latest 1D&D playtest doc wanting to play this new cleric, wanting to play a dragonborn, and even wanting to try out the new ardling. So let's take a look. So once again, this is the third in a series of Unearthed Arcana articles. And let's get a little refresher here. Right in the front, we do have the what's ahead in the 1D&D playtest, little teaser, right? After all the class stuff, we are going to get new weapon options for certain classes. We're not clear if that's new weapons or just new stuff you can do with weapons. Maybe a bit of both. Maybe they don't even know yet. We'll find out. And we're going to get this new system, which has been revealed to be called the Bastion system, for creating a home base for your characters. I'm really excited about that. And one more note as we're getting into the cleric here. Jeremy Crawford did drop this little, what do I call it, timeline, I guess, for the playtest. He said over the next year and a half. I'm kind of guessing it's like summer 2024, playtest is done, and then by holidays 2024, we'll have the new books. But he kind of snuck that into the interview. I just thought it was interesting. Let's get to the cleric. Priest group. Wisdom as their primary ability, that's still the same. That's where their spell magic is coming from. Our spell table is the same as far as I can tell, but looking at our features is where we'll notice a big difference, is that you get your subclass at level 3 now. You used to choose your cleric domain at level 1, but let's be honest, just as Crawford said, that's definitely confusing for new players. You're starting this new game and okay, I'm choosing my class and then I have to choose a subclass right away too. Even for experienced players, you're choosing the major direction that you want to take this class as soon as you pick the class. This is just better. This is better to have it at 3rd level, and he said that's pretty much going to be a standard thing across every class. And he admitted that part of the reason is to also change how people will just dip into a class like cleric to get a lot of stuff at level 1. However, he also said that you're still getting, and I agree, you're still getting a lot of stuff at level 1. So now you have your channel divinity here, that used to be a level 2. You get 2 things to do with it right away. Divine Spark and Turn Undead, of course. You can also use this proficiency bonus times per long rest, but Divine Spark is a way to heal or hurt people. You just roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus, targeting another creature within 30 feet of you that you can see, and you can either heal them with those points, or you cause them to make a con save, and if they fail, they take radiant damage equal to those points. If they succeed, they take half. Turning Undead should look familiar here, but one thing that stood out to me is, as a magic action, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer, yada yada. So magic action is a new thing. It's basically just a rephrasing of the spell attack, and like there was a lot of weird language revolving around some of those mechanics before. Functionally, it's very much the same and what you're used to, just standardizing the language. But now our undead are being dazed. So this is a new condition. I think this might have been in a previous one, but basically dazed means that they can only move or take an action, not both, and they cannot take bonus actions or reactions. The undead are dazed for a minute or until they take any damage, and if they move, they have to end up farther away from you than when they started. So literally turning away those undead. Spellcasting, again, I'm just going to reiterate how nice it is that they're including all these recommended spells. And then it says alternatively, you can prepare 3 0-level spells, also known as cantrips, and 2 1st-level spells of your choice. But the default, the easy way is just, hey, take these. And I love that. But now here's a cool new thing. Holy Order. This is very reminiscent of fighting style under a lot of our warrior and even our ranger in that expert group. You're choosing between 3 roles. The Protector, who is trained for battle. You gain martial weapon proficiency and heavy armor training. Or the Scholar. Studying and teaching about lore of the gods and multiverse, you gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills of your choice: Arcana, History, Nature, Persuasion, and Religion. Whenever you make an ability check using either skill, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your Wisdom modifier. So that's pretty cool, getting to capitalize on your primary ability. And the Thaumaturge, delving deep into divine magical abilities, you prepare 1 extra 0-level spell from your divine list, and you regain 1 expended use of your channel divinity whenever you finish a short rest. So that's like a pretty solid bonus as well. But then at 3rd level, we get our subclass. This doc contains the life domain, so we're going to look at that. And another thing that Crawford confirmed, this was just a kind of a guess that I had thrown out early on when they said, oh, there's 48 subclasses. My brain went, oh yeah, and there's 12 classes, so there's probably 4 for each. I said that in a video, and a bunch of people were like, but Bob, there's like a ton of cleric domains and a bunch of wizard subclasses because we have all these schools of magic. And I went, oh yeah, you're right, I was being silly. But in that last video, Crawford said there are only going to be 4 subclasses for each class in the player's handbook. Of course, future books will add on all these other ones later, but we're really only getting 4 in the PHB. And life domain is the default one for the cleric, so that's what's going to be in here. At 4th level, you get a feat, and of course you can choose the ability score improvement feat. We've already talked about that sort of stuff in a previous video. At 5th level, smite undead. So instead of destroy undead, where you're rolling a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus, adding them together, and if it fails its save against your turn undead, it takes radiant damage equal to the total. So it is still like super powerful against undead, a lot of whom have vulnerability to radiant damage. 6th level is a subclass feature. 7th level, blessed strikes, dealing a little bonus radiant damage. 8th level feat. 9th level, you get a 2nd holy order, so you can choose a 2nd one out of those 3. 10th level subclass feature. 11th level divine intervention. That used to be level 10, it moved 1 level, whatever. The point is you're contacting your god, your deity, really just the DM, and the DM can choose the nature of some, basically he says the effect of any divine spell is appropriate. So you're asking for some kind of help, and the DM can use any divine spell to answer your call. And if it works, you can't use it again for 2d6 days. Apparently, that is more frequent. I think it used to be 7 days or something, maybe even 10 days. You know, no one plays past like 11th level anyway, so just get pumped for that divine intervention. And then boom, prepared cleric spell list right here, once again, just telling you what other spells you can pick up as you progress through these levels. It's just super helpful for new players. And frankly, like for people like me who mostly DM, and if I finally get the chance to play and I'm like, hey, I want to play a cleric, this is just so helpful. I love it. And now here we are, the life domain, focusing on the vibrant, positive energy, one of the fundamental forces of the universe that sustains all life. The first thing you get is domain spells. So at 3rd level, when you take this spell, you will always have prepared Lesser Restoration and Prayer of Healing. Underline there because apparently there's some change to that. I don't even know what Prayer of Healing used to do. And then these I'm pretty sure are all the same. Disciple of Life, Preserve Life, Blessed Healer. But they did say that whichever one of these, I think it's Disciple of Life, is the one that people used to use to make good berries like super duper powerful instead of just healing 1 hit point. So they've tweaked the wording here. Now it's originally as intended, where it has to be in the act of healing somebody. You can't do it when creating something that will heal somebody later. And that's the cleric. Like I said, I came away from reading all this really in depth, just being like, I want to play this character now. And if that isn't the goal of this playtest doc, then I don't know what is. So I feel like as far as the cleric goes, they really nailed it. And this is as good a time as any to mention the brand new limited edition Bob World Builder metal dice set. They're weighty, they're beautiful. There's only about like 400-ish out of the 500 sets left, and you can use code BOB to save 18% and pick one up through the link below to support the channel. And we're moving on to character species. I almost said race again already. That's going to take a little bit of time to get used to, but as many folks have pointed out, D&D is kind of like the last RPG that was hanging on to the word race to describe its many peoples, and it's kind of overdue for this change. So if it was ever going to happen, it was going to happen in 1D&D. Now, some people have said that species sounds a little too sci-fi, and I kind of agree with the wording like this. The peoples of the D&D multiverse hail from many worlds and are members of many different sapient life forms. That sounds like something out of Star Trek, not Lord of the Rings. We're going to keep playing. Here we go. The ardling. They have completely, or almost 100%, gone away from the divine, opposite of tiefling lineage here that they described in the first 1D&D playtest doc, fully leaning into the bestial nature of these guys. You can still be medium or small. Your speed is still 30 feet, but we have 4 categories here. The climber, who gets a climb speed equal to their movement speed, and because they have these claws that they climb with, they get a little bonus, I think, to unarmed strike. Yeah, equal to their proficiency bonus. That's cool. The flyers have vestigial wings, so you don't just straight up get to fly. So what this allows you to do is when you fall, you can use your reaction to safely glide downward, taking no damage from the fall. And when you jump, you can have advantage on those checks. Now this one's interesting for two reasons. I'll say the silly one first. Triceratops is in here as a racing animal. I don't know if Triceratops were known for their speed, but this is such like a weak critique from me, but I definitely would have thrown in something like Velociraptor, right? Like velocity, it's in their name, aren't they? Just fast. Point is, you take your dash action and your speed increases for that action equal to 10 times your proficiency bonus. So if I'm understanding this correctly, it would mean at level 1, when you have +2 to your proficiency bonus, you're getting 20 extra feet onto your speed. But does that mean your speed is 50 and then when you're dashing that is doubled and your speed is 100? Or does it mean, your base speed's 30, it would be 60 when you're dashing and then you get the additional 20? So I don't know exactly how this factors out. That might need a tweak to the wording, or maybe I'm just the only person not understanding it. And finally, swimmers can hold their breath up to an hour at a time. You have a swim speed equal to your speed and resistance to cold damage. These guys also have keen senses, so proficiency in the perception skill, which is very good by the way, and divine magic. So they kept a little bit of this like divine lore in here. Dragonborn. Not a lot changed here. They said pretty much the focus was on the breath weapon, and frankly, because I wasn't super familiar with Fizzbands, I'm not actually sure what everyone was complaining about with the breath weapon in the last UA. I know it was like weaker, I guess, so you tell me if this is different. Creature takes 1d10 damage of your type, whatever. Damage increases to 2d10 at 5th level, and they take half damage if they succeed on the check. The one cool thing that I noticed that I didn't recognize was you can always choose whether your breath weapon is a 15-foot cone or a 30-foot line. But what is new, hello, Draconic Flight. This is the closest that anybody does get to flying in the player's handbook. At 5th level, you can get spectral wings that allow you to temporarily fly. This is as a bonus action. They last for 10 minutes or until you become capacitated, but you just gain a fly speed equal to your speed. That's really cool. And Goliaths. This is a new addition now to the player's handbook because this was not in the Character Origins Unearthed Arcana, the first one that they put out. So they were just like, hey, we want to throw another race in here. Goliath was a good choice. And basically the reasons behind this, they said, was that the Goliath has always had a very singular aesthetic, that the Goliath is just the tough guy character. And what they said was that they want that role to kind of be more fulfilled by the orc, which is now in the player's handbook, and Goliath gets a ton more versatility. So while the original Goliath was pretty much just a stone giant descended person, now we have lineages for all those giants. But before we get into that, let me give one other really weak complaint about something here. Why does the Goliath have 35-foot speed? So, okay, I know why. They're huge, right? Well, they're medium, but they have a huge stride. They got these long legs. They're 7 to 8 feet tall. Cool. But the point is, everybody who had a 25-foot speed because they were small has been bumped up to 30. And I thought they were doing that to just standardize all humanoid player characters at the same speed. Maybe it was more about just like, we don't want anybody to feel slow, but we're okay with some people feeling fast. I guess I like that. It's a positive mindset on it. So definitely let me know what you think about that one in the comments. But let's talk about giant ancestry. We got our Cloud's Jaunt as a bonus action. You can magically teleport 30 feet. Fires burn. You're getting a little fire damage on your attacks. And when I say a little, it's actually 1d10. It's pretty awesome. And I should say this is proficiency bonus times per long rest. So that's a major theme across a lot of features we're seeing throughout 1D&D. Frost Giants, similar to fire, you get a little damage, but it's less damage, only 1d6. However, you are also slowing that target, which is pretty cool, really tapping into the cold damage kind of video gamey feel of what we all think cold damage should do. Hills Tumble, when you hit a large or smaller creature with an attack roll and deal damage to it, you can knock them prone. I like it. Of course, our traditional Goliath, the Stone Giant one, gets Stone's Endurance still. And Storm's Thunder. When you take damage from a creature within 60 feet of you, you can use your reaction to deal 1d8 thunder damage to that creature. And here's the really cool one. Okay, I kind of forgot about this. I do want to play a Goliath too. Starting at 5th level, you gain the ability to supernaturally grow. As a bonus action, you can change your size to large, provided you're in a big enough space. This transformation lasts for 10 minutes or until you end it as a bonus action. During that duration, you have advantage on strength checks. Your speed increases by 10. So I would totally say that base speed could just stay 30 instead of bumping it up to 35 like they did, and let this be where you get the speed increase from. They could even bump this up to 15. I don't know. I'm nitpicking so hard here. This is cool. This is all cool. And as we enter the rules glossary, let's just remember that this section is bigger than ever. So we're only on page 11 out of 26 here. So the rules glossary is more than half of this document, and it's gonna keep growing because as they add things, we're only ever supposed to use the most recent rules glossary. So they have to kind of make it bigger each time it comes out. I mean, and it's convenient, right? That way we only have to refer to one rules glossary and the player's handbook. But to also make it more convenient to use, they've included this change log now, and this is going to be a section for all rules glossaries going forward, where they just tell us what changed from the previous rules glossary. And frankly, I'm not really concerned about these individual spells that changed. The only one that, and now it's not even in the log because it wasn't in a previous rules glossary, the only spell that I think people are not going to love the change is that Spirit Guardians, the cleric spell, now is concentration. Somehow it didn't used to be. Crawford even said that was like kind of an oversight. But the main things that I want to look at are the influence action, because yes, some part of me like wants to believe that Jeremy Crawford watched my video about this, but really I think a lot of people were complaining that the influence action was not cool the way it was written. And one other thing that's interesting here is the long rest, so let's just jump down to those. Now, influence action. It begins with some of the same language that I didn't love before, which was like, this action can only be used on creatures controlled by the DM. Again, still confirming it is not mind control, but let's just recap. So when I made that video about the influence action and how I was kind of worried about it, it was because it could have existed. It could have potentially existed alongside natural 20s always succeeding. It didn't coexist. They were in separate rules glossaries. But hey, like these things were both playtest materials, so obviously if they were both approved, they would have ended up in the rules. However, as you might know if you saw my other recent video about 1D&D updates, natural 20s always succeeding was one of the worst rated things. I think it actually was the worst rated thing in the survey because it was paired up with DMs not critting and natural ones always failing. People did not like that stuff. So the point is, I was worried that your player could just roll that nat 20 and think that by that other rule, they succeeded on their influence action no matter what, even if it was against a hostile creature or whatever. But now we know we don't have that rule about always succeeding on a natural 20. So just by that being gone, the influence action is already like barely dangerous, and it's reinforced by this, whereas before they had extremely prescriptive DCs, 10, 15, 20 for all three of our categories. Now it just says the minimum DC for the check is 15 or the creature's intelligence score, whichever is higher. And that intelligence score part is also really cool because it means that, yeah, a super smart creature is going to be more likely to tell your lion. But again, that's the minimum DC. It still lets the DM set it at whatever they want. So you could set an arbitrarily high DC if that's the way you play. Again, I roll with like, if you're gonna set a DC, it should be something achievable. That's the point of having someone roll, is there's a chance to succeed. But you could set it really high, so they really would have to pull out all the stops and get a good roll for it to work. So this stuff, in my opinion, fixed the influence action. And then my last little like nitpicky complaint was they changed this long rest thing from saying that you can only gain the benefits once in a 24-hour period to this. After you finish a long rest, you must wait at least 16 hours before starting another one. But the 16-hour thing means, okay, we started our rest at midnight, we're going to wake up at 8 a.m. But oh no, one of these things happened, combat, casting spell, whatever. And therefore, our long rest is delayed by 1 hour. So, okay, then we had to wake up at 9 a.m. Okay, that's fine. Next day, we then can't rest until 1 a.m. You see what I'm saying here? Anytime the rest is interrupted, it pushes your rest this arbitrary 16 hours into the future. So eventually you're going to have to be like resting during the daytime or then like skip a rest to reset it. So again, that's just me being really nitpicky about a few things amongst this document, which overall I really like, and it got me that much more excited. Not just like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna want to play 1D&D in 2024. Like, I want to play it now. But please let me know what you think down in the comments, and remember, if you found this overview helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your group, and check out this video here if you want some insight into why the design team changed some rules and not others. It breaks down the results from the survey a little bit in a cool way to really try to get in the heads of these designers here. And then remember too, hey, check out this really cool dice set. Thank you for your support, and keep building.